Certainly have to.
Yeah, just
You better do the cell phone silence to remind you.
Well, good morning, everybody. If you could please all silence your cell phones and mute your mic if you are on Zoom. My name is Brian Newhair, and I serve as the Dean for the College of Rural and Community Development. You can't see me because I'm behind the camera, so I'll run that real quick. I'm going to be kind of facilitating this presentation today, but on behalf of the University of Alaska Fairbanks Bristol Bay Campus Academic Director Screening Committee, I welcome you to this campus community event. Please keep your connection muted for those signed into Zoom, and note that the presentation is being recorded. Also, though we hope to address in-person questions as well as use the Zoom chat feature during the question and answer session, we will not respond to chat or questions or comments during the candidate's presentation. The finalists for the Bristol Bay Campus Director position will give a 30-minute public presentation focused on the candidate's vision for the campus and what experience and ability they bring to lead the campus in that direction. Furthermore, it should demonstrate the candidate's ability to organize their time, present clearly, and engage effectively with an audience. A 15-minute question and answer session will follow the presentation. Audience members will be asked to complete an online feedback form for each candidate. So there's just one candidate on this one. A link to the online feedback form will be posted in the Zoom chat today, most likely by Lisa Yancey, so look out for that chat. And at the end of the presentation, the feedback form will be found on the Bristol Bay campus website until September 30th of this year. So please take your time to share. Before getting to this stage in the process, candidates had to successfully navigate an intermediate screening and an interview. The screening committee was made up of university employees. The university would like to acknowledge the many hours of time and energy the following committee members gave to facilitating this process. And so committee members include Julie Biddle, who's the director of the Interior Alaska campus, Laura Zimmon, associate or assistant professor of tribal governance from the Bristol Bay campus, Devin Lusak, Youth Services Manager from the Bristol Bay campus, Jill Spetz, Instructional Service Manager from the Bristol Bay campus, and myself as the Dean for the College of Rural and Community Development. The hiring authority for the position is Dr. Charlene Stern, who is the UAF Vice Chancellor for Rural, Community, and Native Education. Dr. Stern will take into account and in consideration the recommendations from the committee and also your feedback. So now I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Steve Johnson. Dr. Johnson was born and raised in Kalamazoo, Michigan. He holds a Bachelor's of Business Administration, a Master's of Arts and Training and Learning Technology, and a Doctorate in Information Technology. He first moved to Alaska in 1996. He has 11 years of business management experience, 3 years of secondary teaching experience, and 26 years of secondary teaching experience. His area of specialty is web and software engineering. Dr. Johnson has worked for campuses located in Bethel, Juneau, and Valdez, and he served in faculty leadership roles at all three major administrative units of the University of Alaska. For the last 7 years, Johnson has led the growing academic programs of the Prince William Sound Community College in Valdez, where he created 6 new vocationally oriented programs and has raised $2 million in grant funding to support students taking those programs. In his free time, Johnson enjoys building things from model rockets to homes, and he enjoys doing things outdoors. So without further ado, I present to you Johnson. Let me share screen.
I have function key 5.
There we go. All right, and I will let you know when there's 5 minutes left on the clock. And the answer. So the floor is yours, Dr. Johnson.
Good morning. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about what my future vision is for the Bristol Bay campus. But in large part, I don't know what that is today because I have not met with the community enough to really form a solid opinion on how the campus can meet community needs, because I don't know what the community needs are yet. I've lived in various places in Alaska, which are rural or rural-ish, but they're all different. And knowing what the assets here and what the weaknesses are here, and knowing what the workforce needs, all of those things are different. So that's something that has to be developed in the short term. And to that end, if there's anybody here that needs advisory board people, I'm here, I'm your guy. I want to be on your advisory board so I can find out what your community or what your business or institution needs so that I can figure out how the campus can work with you to accomplish that particular mission. Brian Ehenwer went through all of the requisite statistics. My father was a pharmacist, my mother was a nurse. They met in the Panama Canal Zone during World War II. In high school, I was in what would have been considered the college track program. My parents expected there's 4 of us, by the way, all 4 of us to go to college and get a college degree. That was kind of the vision of the time. And they wanted me to do something where I would sit behind a desk and wear a shirt and tie. And those were good things. And as time went on, working with your hands somehow became not so bad. I don't want to say it became bad, but the things that we told young people back in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s were, you have to get a job where you wear a shirt and a tie to be good. And that's just simply not true. And universities fell into that trap just as well. They started pitching degrees in all of theology. And some of them are good. Biology's fine. Sociology, nothing wrong with it. But what are you going to do with it? Makes you a better person. I totally agree with that. But what are you going to do vocationally with that? Where's your career path? What does that look like? And the university in general has gotten away from vocational kinds of learning, and they've moved into the liberal arts, for lack of a better way to describe it quickly. The University of Alaska over the last 10 years, I couldn't tell you the numbers, 30–40% at this point. The university is lost in head count, meaning the number of credits that are taken by students. Nationally, that's also true, but it's nowhere near that rate. More like what's about 4% a year is what people are projecting university enrollments going down. Why is that? The need less? No, but we're teaching the wrong. We're teaching things they don't want, they don't need, that are expensive. Need is maybe a little strong there, but what they want is something where they can go get a short-term, quick training and go out and do something that is beneficial to their community, where they can make money. Those things are vocational-oriented jobs. I was brought up in an academic first, vocational, somewhere down here, pathway. We need to flip that, or at least bring vocational up to where it's an equal partner at the very worst. Part of that, and this is an issue that goes way beyond me as a campus director, but we need to look at how the University of Alaska is structured. And we need to ask ourselves if this really meets the needs of Alaska. Right now, we're putting all of our energy into the main campus. And they do vocational things there. I don't want to say they don't, but that's not their main interest. we have all of these extended campuses, which means little universities. And we have a very different mission from Juneau, Anchorage, and Fairbanks. And if I had my way, my strategic vision would, number one, would be to take all of these extended campuses and make them one community college, where we had vocational orientation as our primary goal, and we did academics as well. That would be kind of my bigger picture vision, and that is how I would approach being director at Dillingham campus or Bristol Bay campus, is figuring out what the community needs, what we can do that is quick, contained, and in our ability to do. And then once we figured out what those needs are, then we have to develop programs to make those needs happen. And then we got to find funding to support the program. It's a 3-step process. And all 3 of those steps have to happen at the same time for it to work.
Can you speak up and come a little bit further this way? I'm getting feedback. Hearing.
Oh, okay.
Over here, you'll kind of be in the camera.
Yeah, they would also see if you could stand to the front so you can be in the camera.
Well, now there's me in the camera. We'll try this side. That worked earlier, but okay. Oh, if you want me.
There you go.
Well, I'll get over it. I've lived with it, I suppose. I can show it. So that's kind of in the bigger picture. And as Dean Gore said, I've been with the university. I started in 1996. I did take a 10-year break where I went to Turkey for 10 years. And I taught at a Turkish university that spoke English. Turkish is horrible. But I worked with a software engineering department there. I went there. When I went to Kuskokwim campus in 1996, the internet just started as a real serious thing. I'm teaching introduction to computers, introduction to Word, introduction to Excel, and that was about it. And my coworkers were like, well, we'll do this forever. Like, no, you won't. In 5 years, people are going to figure out how to work a computer. And what are we going to do? We have to progress as our students progress. We need to, in fact, be one step ahead of them. And the future is the internet. It just is. Or at least that's how I envision things, and more or less. Right. So what I did is I started doing what I think all teachers should do. I continued to learn my craft. I did not sit on my laurels and say, I am an expert at Microsoft Word. I learned computing. I learned computer science. I had gone through some of these things in my business program. I was the IT department at the company I worked for as business manager because you couldn't find IT people, which is kind of a similar problem to what we have throughout Alaska. You know, who's going to come and fix your sink? Who's going to come and fix your pot? We don't have those kinds of workers. We need them. And in the 1980s, I couldn't find people that could do my IT needs, so I learned IT. And then when I went into teaching, because of my IT background, guess what I taught? I taught computing as well as other things. And then that just kept growing and growing and growing. 4 years at Kuskokwim campus, I learned about the internet, but it was when I went to Juneau that I really started seriously drilling down. And this is at a time where the internet's changing every year. You learn something this year, and next year it's deprecated, which is the computer science way to say don't do that. So, and just a continual learning process. I went to Turkey. I was there for 10 years working in their software engineering program. And I learned software engineering, which I had never had. And how did I learn it? I taught it. They put me in front of a classroom of 40 people, said, here's the textbook. And I had to stay ahead. I had to learn it. And about the second or third time you do that, like, oh, I get it now. Things start to click and they start to make sense. I came back to Prince William Sound College. I never really intended to stay in Turkey 10 years. It just kind of worked out that way. I was doing so much cool stuff. I didn't realize 10 years went by. I learned how to do three-dimensional animations. I learned true software engineering. It was a great time. But I always intended to come back to Alaska, and a job presented itself, and I applied for it. And I ended up at Prince William Sound College. My first year there, I was a computer science teacher, and that was it. But the second year, I became the director of academic affairs. And what I did is I started to use my business experience and apply it to what I'm doing. When I came to Prince William Sound College, the university has headcounts in the wall. A head count means how many credits are being generated at the campus. Enrollment means how many heads, how many bodies are present. And the university kind of does a halfway decent job with the body count. But the credit hour count has been, as I said earlier, downhill for a very long time. How do you turn that around? Well, if I'm in a business and I want to get customers, how do I do that? I figure out what product my customer needs, figure out how to build the product, and then sell the product. And that's exactly what I did at Prince William Sound College. And I had a lot of help doing it. I don't want to have anybody think that this is me. And I'm going to speak in terms of me here because I was the face of a lot of what went on. But there was a lot of people behind me that were helping me and supporting me along the way. And as I go through my programs here, I'll try and highlight those things. But the one thing I brought was energy, vision. I could see a good idea. I didn't necessarily know how to write it up, but I could get some help with that. The very first thing we did was a 4 teachers program. I'll talk about in a minute. I was a certified teacher, but teaching in rural Alaska and how to teach teachers who are coming from America have no idea what rural Alaskan life is like. How do you help them integrate into their community? And I had a lot of help doing it. I had gone through it personally, but not the same thing. I'm by no means an expert. But I got people who were experts to give me some advice. And I took that advice and I created a program. And then I wrote a grant and got funded. That was the first grant that I really got funded on was for teachers. My clicker doesn't want to work for some reason. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's okay. Now it's working. So once again, I was the person that was the creative energy and the upfront person. I'm the person that's running around pounding on people saying, I need this, I need that, I need the other thing. But they were the ones that were providing a lot of the ideas that actually made these programs work. We created a total of 9 new vocational programs. Notice there's no academic program. And I'm going to talk about 5 of those 9 programs. In academics, we did very little. What's changed? What we need and what the community wanted, plumbers, electricians, they want technicians, they want other things. So we created a variety of programs. And the first one, as I said, was for sport teachers. Well, I'll go through sport teachers. We bring 20 some odd teachers from all over rural Alaska, presumably who are first year or early teachers that are most likely English teachers or history teachers who are teaching math because they're in a small school. Well, how do you do that? They don't cover that, I promise you. They do not cover that in teacher preparation program. You're left to figure that out on your own. So our first 4 teachers was math for teachers. And almost all of these after that are vocational oriented. And there's a whole series of them. And what we did is we brought these teachers in, we showed them how to work Alex, which is a computer-assisted software program that teaches people math. We showed them how to work it, we showed them how to get the test scores out of it, and all of that. That's what we did in the morning. In the afternoon, we went outside and we did things like measure trees and drew tree ring counts. Here we're at the Valdez Fish Hatchery. And Rob Unger, who's the guy in the glasses right there, is telling them about fish runs and about how fish, I'll get this all messed up, but early fish runs are male. And then as the fish run goes, it turns female. And so you can tell by doing fish sampling what your run is going to look like. And you can tell when the run is going to end because the midpoint is about when the males and females are relatively close to 50-50. Little math there. Well, and how many fish do they put out? And how many fish do they get back? And what are those percentage returns? And how can we put this in a math class? So that somebody living in a rural community who understands fish can use fish to help them understand math. As an example. And as I said, this 4 teachers course started with math. 2 years ago, we had 9 of them. And they included marine small engine repair for teachers who wanted to learn enough so that they could turn around and teach small engine repair. We did computing, we did environmental science. And we did construction as vocational program. So we're trying to help teachers who need the most help do a better job with their teaching in the high school. Now that's mission number 1. Mission number 2 is, how can we advertise Prince William Sound College to the state of Alaska? No one knew we existed. We were the last community college. We lost our accreditation. We gave it up. We lost it in 2015. And at that time, it was kind of it sat in Valdez, and it was realistically Valdez community. We worked with the pipeline and with people that worked on the pipeline. That was Valdez. That was Prince William Sound College. We have to convert that into something that's workable for the state. We need to broaden our horizon, and we need to stop thinking about Valdez and start thinking about the state of Alaska. The legislature gives us a lot of money, and they want us to train Alaskans. They don't want us to train 50 people in Valdez. Not a good use of money, but training people that live throughout all of rural Alaska, hey, that's pretty cool. And that's a compelling story that we can tell to get more grant money, and that we can then use to build programs. So this is one program where we have a stated outcome for teachers, but we also have this underlying thing going on of how do we communicate with people that should be our students but aren't, which is anybody living in the state of Alaska. I never got here, but I was going to put up a map of the state of Alaska in my office, and right underneath it at the bottom, Prince William Sound Community College campus map. Because that's what it is, and that's how everyone in UA should think. Alaska is our mission. Do I want to take care of Dillingham first? Absolutely. But if I can take care of Dillingham and bring people in from other locations to help fill those needs, all the better. It helps us and it helps them. Alaska Tech Learners is a National Science Foundation funded project that And this one I developed. Obviously, I'm the expert. It was a 3-year project. It's finishing up. It's last year right now. The mission is to, once again, work with rural students. People living, and it's not that I hate people living in Anchorage or Matsu. That's not the point. Most of my students actually come from this. But the point is they have access. The rest of the state, not so much. I want to give them access first. And if we help out people in Anchorage, that's fine too. No problem. But the mission is to help rural students. And this is an asynchronous computing program, and we had summer. So students could come in the summer, take a 1-week course, go back home. But any high school student in the state of Alaska that wants to take a web engineering course today and in January, actually for the next 2 years, they can take the course for free asynchronously. And they do that through Alaska Techland. This, the original grant we have extended into a CARES money CARES money grant that I am now using to fund the same. So the tech learner has now morphed into a second grant that continues to build. I started out my first year with something like 50 students. I have 130 students taking tech learner courses. Actually, that's a lot. I have 82 students taking tech learner courses. I have 50 students in another project. 130 totals, but 80 students in tech learner taking tech learner courses. I think that's pretty cool. This is the Marine Service Technology OEC. And I like this picture for a couple of reasons. Anthony is the instructor. He started out in college, it lasted 1 year, and he went into power sport, which is how do you fix and build small engines and boat engines. And he got a degree in that, and we hired him. He's got the teaching personality, but he's got the skill. He's wonderful with this. He was not so much involved in the curriculum development. That's not his thing. What his thing is fixing engines and being able to talk to high schools. George Keeney is the fire chief for Valdez. He was the ICS guy. He was a lot of things. We hired him, and he's not involved here. He's involved here as a customer. This is his boat, and they're working on it. But he's been just a screaming success, being able to attract students into allied health. And then I think this is the back of Julian Rice's head. He is from Port Alfred, I want to say. I don't know what school this is in. It's in BBRCTE. And I think that's Darren. And he's from Perryville. Who got there? And actually, in this group, there were 4 people from BBRCTE that came to this program. And I don't know what they're doing today. Anthony, promise you, Anthony's quite the guy. This is how you build programs. We can put flowery words on the wall that say how we're caring and inclusive and whatever flowery round words you want to put up. But at the end of the day, what does your course do? How is it different from somebody coming in and sitting and listening to you talk like we talk? But how do you do that? And this is how you do it: hands-on instruction and finding people that care. There's a big part of teaching is just about caring about people and finding a way to helping people succeed. Good teachers do that. This is our construction skills program. And we started off with the tiny house, which was a little ambitious, but so it goes. And these are not all high school students. These are Prince William Sound College students that came and helped build the tiny house. This is built to the cold climate standards. And I don't remember, there was somebody at Fairbanks that came down and looked at our plans and did the blessing of the plans. And I don't know who that was, but it was somebody. And this is really cool. I built homes for a very small period of time in Texas. This was just blew my mind because the insulation is on the outside of the frame, not on the inside. And then the sheathing goes on the outside of the insulation. Totally different from my standard. The plumbing and the electric is pretty similar, but except you want all of that stuff in warm space. The construction skills, though. All of our high school programs are 12 weeks. And this is something that I would think that we might want to consider generally. 16 weeks is a long time for people who are living in the city. It's an even longer time for people. When I was in Bethel, during a semester, almost every one of your students at some point had to go home for something for a week. That's just life in rural Alaska, how it's structured. The university does not deal with that structure. The university wants the student to comply to the university. And that's not how life works. We have to comply to the students' needs as much as we possibly can. To accomplish our mission, we use a 12-week window of time instead of a 16. And for the high school students, in particular, they wake up at 8 o'clock and they're working and they work until 4 o'clock. And hopefully they go back to their dorm and collect. That's the plan. Doesn't always work that way. We had some kids from Kotzebue that they went out, they bought snow machines, fixed them and sold them in town, and then they bought a car. They were 18. There's nothing we could do about it. They went out and bought a car, fixed it, and then drove all over the place. That's how it goes. But they had a good experience. They had a hands-on experience that they valued. So they were maybe not as contained as we would hope, but it was a success nonetheless. The middle college is where we're headed with this, which is to take all of these programs and turn them into a cohesive thing that we can package and sell to school districts in the state. And I'll leave that here. All of these things are 12-week programs where a student earns an OEC, an occupational endorsement certificate, at the end of them, so that they walk away with a piece of paper and hopefully enough entry-level skills so that they could enter an entry-level job in that career field. That's the mission. So a fair amount of this I've already talked about, but what we have to do, or what I have to do as director, number one is I got to get community input before I can do anything, to know what Billingham wants, and what they need, and what they're willing to pay for. And then once I know those things, I can then go about assessing what's going on, find the strengths and the weaknesses so that we can write grants to fund the things that we need to get funded and to create programs. And then at the end of this, you need to build sustainability into it when the grant money runs out. So that's kind of where we're at. Some partners that I can think that would clearly be of benefit to the campus, and I'm sure that there are on here, but I would be looking to those folks certainly as a place to start. And with that, I'll stop and take questions.
Right. We are transitioning over to the question period. So there'll be 15 minutes for question and answer. And if we could keep the response to maximum 3 minutes. And we will start with the room here. Are there any questions for Dr. Eric?
Yeah, Eric Goddard, faculty, sustainable energy environments. So I love the idea of bringing into programs. One of the problems that we encounter here in Dillingham is one, attrition of the instructors. Two, if you've got a 12-week program, when the students, trying to get the students here and to find a place is incredibly prohibitive. It sounds like you had maybe some needs.
That's correct.
So, yeah, and then we get the program. And, you know, that's one of the hurdles. I'm not saying I'm looking for an answer on, but that we need to figure out how to overcome those items. And then we get the grant and have like our great welding shop here. And then we run through set of field works for a couple of years and then kind of there's no more students.
Right. Well, and that's, and Wanda discussed a little bit yesterday, is in Anchorage, you can run a program every semester until the sun sets, no problem. Here, we can't do that. We have 2,500 people. You're going to run out of market. So unless you're bringing people in, if you're getting 2 people out of the community, 8 or 10 people from the rest of Alaska, now you can run a program more sustainably. But if you're dealing only with Dillingham residents, you're going to have one semester on and maybe a year off, or you know, run the program. You can't run it every semester. I totally agree. And yeah, how you do that, I have to get here and see and talk to you guys in particular to find out what's worked and what you think can be done, and talk to the community at large.
Thanks. Are there any questions from online Zoom participants? Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Johnson. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm Tom Marsik. I'm a sustainable energy faculty with the Bristol Bay campus. And I guess I have several questions, but I'll start with a simpler one. What is your idea of shared governance? If you can talk about that a little bit. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Shared governance is important because the faculty and the staff have contact with the students. As director, it's not that I won't have, because my guess is that if I'm here as director, I'm going to be teaching computing classes. So I'll wear 2 hats, but it's important for the faculty and the staff to have input, just like it is the community. And if you have one person making all the decisions, there is a name for that. It's called dictatorship. It does not work. Does not last. You must have input and consent from the faculty, from the staff, from the community, or you will not succeed. Just that simple.
Thank you. And so we will take Kathy's question next, and then we'll go back to questions here.
Hi, so I'm Kathy Kaiser, and I'm the writing support specialist for the campus. I work remote, and I also teach adjunct classes. And my question is something we come up against a lot is I'm mainly a writing teacher. I do teach environmental studies class that I focus heavily on writing, but I've created my classes to be very place-based. And even though I teach remote from Sutton, my students write about the places where they are and the changes we see happening and the traditions and the culture that they live within. And to make it more convenient for the students, I also do my classes have a late start in the fall, so they don't start until mid-September. And one thing we come up against with the university is that because they're writing classes and UAF teaches writing classes, they have faculty on staff, is that they have to be closed classes, the ones I teach, which means only available to folks in the Bristol Bay campus. So what we came up against this semester was it gets time for the class to start, and we only have 6 or 7 students and you need 8 for it to be a full class. And the advisors from UAF are contacting me and saying, hey, why is this closed? Can't we have some students that would really benefit from a late start class? And when I contacted the English department up there for approval, what they did was open up another section out of UAF instead of allowing our section to fill. And is that something that you would be willing to go to bat for?
That would be something I'm willing to go to bat for, but that is going to be a losing battle. To get, as a director, I can certainly promote and pitch what it is you're trying to do. I don't mean to put this on Dean Orr, but then this is a dean and a provost level decision. I can't. It's not that I can't. I'll do what I can to promote your classes. This is what we did at Prince William Sound College. When in 2016, our writing instructor would have 4 people locally. And when we got to Zoom, we might get 6 people in Zoom. And if we can put them together into one section, now we got 10 people in one class, and that's a workable number if you're mixing your modalities. Some faculty are willing to do that, and some faculty aren't willing to do that. And if you have an asynchronous course that you're doing, then there would be no modality for you to mix to pick up additional students. It's real easy for me to say the requirement from Fairbanks that you can't do that is counterproductive to the mission of the university is going to fall on deaf ears for me. I'll certainly say it so that they hear it, but that answer's got to come from the higher level, has got to come to that understanding.
Thank you. And Kathy, we should talk after this to get more information. You all know what's going on because I'm not aware of it. All right. So in the room, are there any questions? Chandler.
I'm Chandler, Sustainable Energy faculty here. And you mentioned the importance of attracting students from around the state, both in Valdez and here. I'm interested in how you see the other rural campuses and Bristol Bay working together so that we're helping each other rather than competing for the same students.
The level of competition, from my experience, and I might be wrong about this, but Fairbanks seems to be more competitive internally than UAA is competitive. And I don't know if that's geography or if it's spread out here too. If we have a construction program in Dillingham, is somebody from Yakutat going to come here, take it? Probably not. We're going to get mostly locals. If we can find a way to make housing available and affordable, then we can do that. We did most of our advertising through the school district. The other place, and I don't have enough high-level knowledge to know about this, but going to AFN, going to your local for-profit native corporations, and getting connected with those folks. They have money and they have people that need things. And if we can provide those services, that's a win for everybody. And that would, the shortest term answer is that one, is to go to the local for-profit and find out what their needs are. Work towards filling those. Separate of that, I think school districts are a wonderful way to advertise, but what you're going to get is high school students. And they have their own, they come with their own issues. But their students, their head counts, their revenue, they're an important part of the mix that the legislature, the governor. I'm not always convinced the university is so excited about it. Publicly, they say they are, but anyway.
Thank you. And so for our last one, for our timing, we'll take it online from Ad.
Yeah, hello, Dr. Johnson. Thank you for the presentation. I'm excited to Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm excited to hear you taught in Turkey. I also taught in Turkey in a different area, but we can talk about that later. I'm the Alaska Sea Grant Marine Advisory Program agent here. I was curious about the workforce development you talked about in reaching out to community members and organizations. And I was wondering if this is two-part, if you could talk about which ones you would immediately go to here in Bristol Bay, and then some past successes you've had with Native organizations with your work in Prince William Sound.
Let me get those parts again, sorry. Workforce development, who do you partner with first? And the answer to that is that's why I would be joining these advisory boards as much as possible, is to figure out which groups of people are going to be the easiest to work with. And then you start easy and you work towards the more difficult. In terms of Native organizations that we have had success with at Prince William Sound College, Ahtna Incorporated is our for-profit. We're in the Ahtna region. And we partnered extensively with them in the Natural Resource Technician OEC that just got off the ground. Its first semester is this semester. And we have people coming from the Park Service to teach some of the courses for us. We have local people who are doing things. It's a really cool program. And it's, once again, it's built on we're going to do lecture in the morning, and in the afternoon, we're going to get out and do things. We're going to do outdoor learning. We partner with Ahtna. We also partner with, oh shoot. It'll come to me in a minute. There's a second. I can't pull it up right now. Chugach, Alaska. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I could think of all the names of the people, but I couldn't come up with the corporation name. Yikes. We partnered with them for the construction program. And with Ahtna, we're doing the natural resource. And Ahtna is also a partner with us with Copper River School District, which is right down the road. We have done those too. If I had infinite time to do things, or if I could go back, I still wouldn't have had time to do it. But that is one of the places where Prince William Sound College needs a lot of help, is interfacing with all of the Native corporations. We work with just those two, and it could be better, but we work with those two reasonably well. But there are all kinds of organizations that we need to be in contact with, and it almost takes a full-time position to do nothing but go out and interface with all these organizations, go to meetings, and market your programs and make phone calls. And we didn't have personnel, just didn't. When I got there in 2015, it was me, a writing teacher, and a math. That was the faculty. And today we have 9 faculty. So through our ability to build programs, we've added on 6 positions. And now we're just to the point where people start doing those.
Right. Well, thank you, everybody. I want to thank you all who attended online. A link to the online feedback form has been posted in the Zoom chat for those online. And you can also find the link on the Bristol Bay campus website. That'll be live. Yeah, I'm getting head nods, so yeah. You don't see it there yet, it'll be there very shortly. So please take your time to share your feedback. It is important, and we are looking forward to that. And yes, thank you all so much for attending, and thank you, Dr. Steve Johnson.
Thank you all.